Hey everybody, it's Christina Louise. Welcome back to Parenting for a Peaceful Home. I'm super excited to introduce you to a friend of mine named Clayton Olson because today he's going to help us reignite the flame in our relationship if parental or financial stresses have kind of gotten in the way. He's going to help even single parents who are concerned about dating and what that means for their children in our talk today as well. Thank you, Clayton, for being here. Hello, and how are you?
Thank you, Christina. I'm doing pretty well, and I'm happy to be joining you on the show.
Yay! Well, we're excited to have you, and I'm excited to find out exactly how did you get into this realm?
So I've been in the self-development role and the human development space for about 15 years now. I had a significant life event happen to me when I was 18, and after that, I got into something called neurolinguistic programming, which is a study of how to help people work with their own internal dialogue and how language structures reality and beliefs and how who you think you are determines the results that you get in life. And from that place, I ended up helping men get back out in the dating world and be able to create relationships that lasted and be able to have success in dating. And then it evolved into some corporate work around sales. And then it ended up turning into where for the last 5 years, I've been working with men and women, helping them get through breakups. And in some cases, actually get back together after a breakup, depending on what happened.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the good work that you do. Let's talk about parents who are dealing with stress and feeling that strain in their relationship with their partner because maybe their kid's out of control or their kid's having trouble at school, or maybe they're not seeing eye to eye on how they're raising their children together. What would we say to parents who are dealing with something like that?
Yeah. So my mind, when I hear that question, my mind immediately goes to I'm curious about the stance that the parent is taking when they were looking at the problem within the relationship or within the relationship with the children. And what I mean is this: how are you seeing, what is the meaning that you are putting on the relationship? What is the story that you're crafting around what is happening? Are you seeing it as a big problem that needs to be solved? Are you in resistance to it? Do you have some judgments that this shouldn't be happening, that it should be easy, that it should be looking different than the way that it is? Because if you are holding that as a perspective, what often happens is when you are resisting something, you end up reacting to it, which pulls you out of the present moment and can actually support the problem, whatever's happening, whatever type of dysfunction or things that are happening that you don't like, to actually continue to perpetuate in the relationship. Where if you are seeing the experience, if the meaning that you are attaching to it is one of, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. This is exactly how this relationship is supposed to be unfolding. This is part of my personal growth. This is part of the growth and the foundation of the family system, no matter how horrible it might seem in the moment. You actually have a stronger, more resilient stance in that problem, which allows you to be present. It allows you to be intentional rather than reactionary. And it also allows you to be fully invested in the process and more curious about what's happening, which just moves things forward. Does that make sense?
It's pretty profound. Let's back up a second because that was a really, really good nugget there. Okay.
Yes.
So let's just imagine this for a second. We've got two parents in the house trying to, or just, a couple, right? And it doesn't have to be two parents in the house. We are talking to parents who are dating. We've got two people in the house, kids causing some stress, right?
Yes.
So rather than looking at, I heard you say, rather than looking at it like a problem that needs to be solved, you could do what instead?
Yes. Rather than looking at it as a problem that needs to be solved, imagine being able to be right in it and think, this is exactly where I need to be. That's
like makes me cry. Like I can feel the truth of that, but also kind of the opening, like it kind of seems like a crack.
You got it.
Your center. I hope you guys are experiencing the same thing. It's quite profound.
You got it. Yeah, because see, we can talk about strategies all day long on how to deal with problems, but when it comes down to it, the problem is only really existing as a story in your mind of the stance that you are taking. So the first step I always encourage people to do is, how is the problem occurring to you? Is it occurring as a problem, or are you able to find the perfection in it? Are you able to find the grace in it? Are you able to find gratitude and just awe? And perhaps being in a situation that might seem overwhelming and one that you can't control. And can you actually relax and open to it and allow it to be exactly the way that it is? Because that is the first place in allowing the problem to actually begin to release. And it gives you the flexibility to then be intentional to begin to move towards a different result. Not from a place of fear, not from a place of resistance of like, oh God, this needs to change immediately. This problem needs to change, but rather one of, this is okay. Now, what do I want? What do I want to create? And then you have all of your resources online. Because see, if it's a problem that's overwhelming, you're in this state of trying to push the weight of it off of you. And therefore, you probably have tunnel vision. You're probably in this fight or flight mode and trying to fix something because you think it's slipping away. But being able to just center and stop for a moment and relax and breathe through it and realize that everything is perfect, this is exactly where you need to be, brings all of your resources back online to use your creativity to then move forward and create the vision that you want.
Here's what I love about that. It seems like by default, a lot of people are running through life trying to put out fires and getting really tense and like finger pointing at each other, at themselves, at their kid, at the government, at society, whatever, coworkers. And it's almost like a way, it seems like a really good way of protecting themselves. Right? It's like, I'm going to tense up and I'm going to push back. And that's what's going to keep me safe.
Right.
But what you're saying, and I can feel the truth of it, is that it's actually working against you. That by becoming centered and trying to, and at least being open, because I get that there are parents out there that are like, that are going to say, Clayton and Christina, you're blowing smoke up my butt. There is nothing perfect about what my child is going through right now.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, and I think I can speak on behalf of Clayton on this, we have so much empathy and so much compassion for you.
Yes.
And I believe, because of the experience I've had in my life with horrific situations, that there is always a purpose for it. And it is somehow perfect on some level. And if you can't see it right now, that's okay. Don't discount everything else Clayton is sharing with you today. So
beautifully said. You took the words right out of my mouth. That is a wonderful way of encapsulating it, is that, while you're going through it, what I'm saying is absolutely easier said than done. But I put it on tape here because I want you to explore it as an option. Because I know for a fact that all of the challenges that I've had in my life, when I look back with my father dying of lung cancer, with going through a really hard period in my teens where I thought that maybe I would become so depressed that I was not going to want to live anymore. That all of that was exactly what I needed to carve me into who I am today. And I would not go back and change any of it. And it's very hard to see the gold that we end up mining when we're in the middle of it, right? It's through the pressure, diamonds are created. And it might be very difficult to see that in the moment, but there's a certain level of trust that I encourage you to bring into this, that there is something larger at play here. There's something this is spiritual growth. This is a journey that you are on. And it just because it's not easy doesn't mean it shouldn't be happening.
I love that. So you're saying that by adopting, at least being open, I like to say being open, because some people, some of us really have trust issues. So I like to say, be open to the idea. This way we're suspending the doubt and we can kind of embrace it and play around with it. So be open to the idea that by not looking at life or your situation as a problem to be solved, but really like, okay, this is an opportunity for me to grow and expand in a new way, that puts you it takes you out of fight or flight. It puts you into your center. And now you can actually create the results that you want, rather than kind of repeating that fight or flight, this is a problem, chaos, situation.
Perfect. Yep. Right? And I say that openness, your word, which is beautifully put in this, is synonymous with curiosity. Mm-hmm. Right? Curiosity is not online when you're not open. When you're not open, it's just, I got to fix this and it needs to be fixed right now. Yeah. Versus openness also inspires this curiosity to occur, where suddenly you're using both hemispheres of your brain to be fully in the moment, to think, you might even find humor in the chaoticness of what is happening. And truly, that's what actually keeps people together, is when you are a couple and in the biggest speed bumps that you hit, if you can find humor in it and you can find ways for all of that to bring you closer and see that it's all part of your growth, that's what creates a rock solid relationship.
Awesome. You mentioned humor, and I'm just reminded of a girlfriend of mine. Back when her kids were younger, her daughter was like throwing temper tantrums in public, like on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And she used to try to stop the kid and like barter with the kid, like bargain, like, oh, I'll give you this, I'll give you that. And then eventually she got really wise and just decided, like in the middle of a department store, her kid would start freaking out. She'd just sit down, the mother would sit down on the floor and start meditating.
Wow.
And within 30 seconds to a minute, her daughter would come and sit in her lap, and she'd give her a hug, give her a kiss, rock her, and they'd be back to what they were doing. And that was her way. I'm not suggesting that parents start doing that, or maybe you do, but for her, that was her way of kind of surrendering and accepting the situation and having fun with it, right? Yeah. And finding a solution and creating that peace and that connection that she really desired with her daughter. And it worked out well for her.
I love it. And may I share a story that is very similar, but with a little bit of a different behavior here? Yeah. So in neurolinguistics, there is this belief that all programmers, people that are NLP practitioners, operate under in order to have effective results with clients. And the belief is, or the presupposition is that the element with the most flexibility within the system controls the system. So I'll take that from concept into actual action. What it means is that if there's two people, the person that is the most flexible in terms of their behavior will be able to maneuver around and control the situation. And so when I hear your story about the mother suddenly getting down and just meditating, that is projecting an intense amount of flexibility. And the effect that it might have on the child is that all of a sudden the child's pattern gets interrupted. And they're like, whoa, what is my parent doing here? Same story with a child being cantankerous in a department store. I think it was in a grocery store. I know somebody I heard a story of some mother who had their kid just losing their mind, making a temper tantrum, and the parent ended up totally just throwing themselves on the ground and mocking the kid in some fun way and having a temper tantrum as well, and demonstrating extreme flexibility in that situation. And what did it do? It snapped the kid right out of it. And the kid suddenly looked at their mom and wondered if everything was okay. And it brought the kid right back online because the parent was able to demonstrate more flexibility than the kid. It's one of the ways that children actually control parents, is by being able to just be completely flexible in any situation, and then suddenly the parent feels constricted. But if the parent can be flexible as the child, they can start to control the system again without punishment, without abuse, without trying to manipulate the kid in a way where they're taking away love or withholding anything, but just actually having fun and playing along.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. That is awesome. Oh, cool. What a brave parent.
I know. Right. Really got to leave your ego at the door.
Yeah. We're going to see like teams of parents. We're going to see it on the news now that this event is launching. All these parents oming in Walmart.
Yeah.
All right. So you had talked earlier with me before we started recording about relationships being personal growth machines. What did you mean by that?
Yeah. So we can see relationship in a number of different ways. I often ask people, what is the purpose of your relationship? Or what do you think is the purpose a relationship serves in your life? And many people answer the question, well, it's to share things with people. It's to share life experiences with. Well, it's to love somebody. Well, it's to feel safe. It's to feel secure. And those things are all correct. And I believe, though, there's something deeper. And there is an umbrella term here that actually holds all of those and includes all of them. And also creates the resilience for fights. It creates the resilience for things to go wrong and things that you don't expect to happen, and to still feel like you can include that and actually use it towards growing. And that is to see your relationship as the most powerful personal growth machine that you will ever experience in your life. More so than your business, more so than your relationship with your friends, more so than climbing Mount Everest or doing adventure activities. Your relationship is a container for you to do work that you would never be able to do in any other context. And when you see your relationship that way, suddenly being authentically real with your partner is completely acceptable. Handling tough issues and not sweeping things under the rug is completely acceptable. Being able to have breakdowns in the relationship where perhaps there are really big violations or infractions become things that you can come together and put meaning around it to strengthen the bond between the two of you. Where if you only see the relationship as maybe like an obligation, oh God, I've got children now, I've got a wife that I got to take care of, or a husband I've got to take care of, and you are feeling obligated, that there's a sense of duty, it really makes it hard to handle the natural and inevitable challenges that come up in a relationship. So seeing it as a personal growth machine allows all of that to be included, and it also allows you to really be able to be your best self in it and know that you can continue to grow more and more.
Okay, that was really good. You had me thinking about my relationship. I'm like, yeah. Okay, so all right, let's back up. So you're saying, all right, so the one thing that I wanted to pull out of there, because we all live in this culture and we watch these movies and TVs, and we watch these stories where everybody seems to get along well, and if there is an infraction, as you call it, that's pretty much grounds for breaking up. Like, I don't know, I don't watch a lot of TV, but that's kind of the message that I got growing up, is that, you know, it's either really good or you got to get out. Yeah, exactly. So what you're saying today is not the case. Yeah. You're making a case for like staying in it, even though it might feel like an obligation. It's up to me to change that. Or even though this person might have violated my trust or talked crap about me to his friends, or that's not grounds for termination in a relationship? No, and not in my view. That is grounds for a conversation to be had, and to get on the same page in terms of your values. And often what people do is, rather than bringing those things to the table because they don't want to be vulnerable, they don't want to let the other person know that it affected them as deeply as it did, they stuff it and they hold back and they think that that's a position of strength. When in reality, you're actually dishonoring the vision of the relationship by holding back and not bringing the impact the other person's behavior had on you within the relationship. It takes strength to confront your partner in a loving way and say, hey, listen, you know, I felt X, Y, and Z when you did this, and I know that wasn't your intention, but this is how it felt, and I need to bring this to the table and discuss with you so we can get on the same page, because I won't respect myself, and I don't feel like it's honoring you or honoring the relationship if I didn't bring it up. Right? It's being able to have the courage to come up and say these things to your partner in a way to realign you and then strengthen the bond. Because look, people are different. Sometimes your friends, your partner is going to talk to their friends. They might do things that are not in line with your value system. And the way that you get aligned is by communicating about these things and by communicating about the impact of them. Because then you give your partner the opportunity to get your world and to actually feel what it's like and say, oh, wow, I had no idea that was the impact it had on you. I can respect that. And now I'm inspired to change. I'm inspired to perhaps up-level my game, upgrade myself, maybe make something important in my life that you were making important all along. And so I think what people do is they check out too quickly, because they think, well, this person does not have a value around this, and therefore we can't be together. We're not compatible, or that's a clear red flag that we should not keep going. But I personally believe we can work through anything. I think if that you are with somebody who has a dedication to grow and is open to learning, and you're with someone that's open to learning, I mean, that's the recipe right there.
That means they're going to be open to listening to you. That means that the two of you can re-up the respect and re-up the foundation to continue to move forward and learn from each other.
You talked about a vision for the relationship. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So where are you going? What is it that you guys want? Where do you see yourselves in 5 years? Being able to have that discussion. And it might not look like, hey, where do you see us in 5 years? Because that suddenly kind of muddies the equation a bit, but it's just more like, what do you want in 5 years? Let me tell you what I want in 5 years. Where are we going? What kind of relationship do we want? How do we want to love each other? How do we want to deal with conflict? What kind of rules of engagement do we have around that? What kind of connection do we want to have present so we both feel satisfied in the relationship? Right? What should we do when one of us is feeling disconnected? How do we want to bring this up? What kind of container can we create so there's a safe place for us to discuss these things? And actually, in some ways, treating the relationship like a business where there is these rules and these places in which both of you can feel safe and that you're not in the Wild West trying to figure this out. But talking about these things when you're not triggered and having a vision for how you want to handle these things as they come up. Because ultimately what you're wanting to create is a sense of alliance with your partner. You want to create a unit where it's the two of you versus whatever challenge is in front of you, rather than both of you individually trying to handle the challenge. So that's why I believe a vision is incredibly important, because the vision serves as a North Star. Right? It serves as a North Star out that when all of a sudden the two of you start drifting off track, you know it. You know that you're drifting off track because you have a destination in mind, or you have a path in mind. If you don't have a vision, it can be very easy to suddenly go unconscious in the relationship and start reacting to one another. And next thing you know, there's no more date nights and it becomes all about the children, or it becomes all about the work. And suddenly you guys are drifting and you don't even know you're drifting because you never had a destination. So destination is what holds you into integrity. And it allows you, once you have agreement with your partner, it allows you and gives you permission to call your partner out on things when you feel like they're drifting, or when you feel like both of you are drifting, and say, hey, I know that when we talked last month or a couple months ago, we have a commitment to honor this, X, Y, Z. And I wanted to talk with you about what I'm noticing is happening, and I'm wondering what we can do to get back in alignment together.
You talked about forming an alliance. What would you say to parents who are watching right now that don't feel like they're on the same team, and that's why they're here? What could we leave? What could we leave them with? Like, how do you deal with that?
So I've got this metaphor that I drop pretty regularly. Just recently I came up with it, and I think it applies here. If we look at love and intimacy and connection and alliance as, say, a plant that is continually growing, I would say that trust and respect are the soil and the container from which that love and intimacy grow from. So trust is the pot and respect is the soil. So if you're not feeling like you're in alliance, my question would be, where do you feel like you are not respecting your partner right now? Or where do you feel like you are not respecting yourself in the relationship? Or not honoring yourself in the relationship? Where are you making a compromise silently that perhaps needs to be brought to the table for the two of you to discuss? Because if you can restore the trust and the respect in the relationship, the love and the intimacy begins to naturally sprout from that, along with the alliance. So it's looking at these two things. Are you trusting your partner completely, right? Or are you holding back, and are you guarded? And why is that? Is there a conversation that needs to be had? Did they break your trust in some way and you let it slide? But it needs to be brought up in a conversation for the two of you to discuss and then realign again. So tracking those two things, I think, is really the first step, is tracking trust and tracking where respect has been compromised, and then having conversations around that, maybe getting professional help from a coach or a therapist to get those back in place. And then from there, everything will happen naturally.
I love that. Thank you. And we promised today that we were going to talk to single parents who are feeling confused or perhaps overwhelmed or scared about bringing a new person into their children's lives. And like, how do you date with having kids? And let's speak to that. Yeah.
So one thing that I've noticed working with single parents in the past is this when we get into it and we get into the meat and potatoes of what's really going on, sometimes it seems like there's this fear that perhaps they're not quite as valuable because they have children. That the kids are a severe limitation on their ability to attract a high quality partner. And I would encourage them to begin to change those beliefs and to actually see that the children aren't necessarily a limitation, but the children are something there that unlock perhaps a more adult, responsible, and actualized person within them. That perhaps they are more grounded, that they are more clear, that they are more focused because they have children. And all those qualities are going to make them so much more attractive in the dating pool. Because if they don't believe that, if you think that somehow that you made a mistake deep down, or that, God, it just would be so much easier if you didn't have children, then when you go into an interaction, people can smell that on you, right? And your value is not actually determined from the outside. It's not determined by what people think of you. It starts as a declaration that you make within yourself. And then people read that script off of you, and then they say, okay, yeah, they either agree with it or they don't. Either they see it or they don't. And if they don't see it, they're disqualified, because it's not worth being with somebody that doesn't see your value. And I think that saves a lot of time as well. I think many women, and I see many men, get into relationships where they're almost feeling like they're grasping at trying to prove their value rather than coming from this place where it's inherent within them. So it starts with questioning some of those beliefs that you might have and seeing that the children are actually an asset that have carved your character into a more actualized version of yourself, which is incredibly attractive and beautiful.
Oh my God, I love talking to you. I will write that down. Let's just highlight that for a second. The children are actually an asset that has shaped our character and grounded us and will actually make us, if we believe it. That's the caveat here, right? If you believe it, if you forgive the idea that you made a mistake, if you forgive your ex, or if you forgive your belief system and open up to this truth, then it will be true for you, right? Yes. That's important. Like, you can't just be like, oh, all of a sudden Clayton said that my kids are an asset and I don't have to be afraid of this anymore, and expect that kind of script to come out of your system. You've got to work to release that script and work to bring in that new script.
Yes.
Clayton?
Yes. Yep. And continue to reinforce and look. And just like you're saying, how you do that is continually look for reasons of ways your children have helped you grow. And look, if you've got kids, you've went through a transformation. You have had a complete identity revision. Who you are now is completely different than who you were before you had children. And that is a powerful transformation to go through, to go from being a man to being a father, from going from just being a woman to being a mother. Like, there is this archetypal energy that is unlocked in you that is going to make you so much more grounded and present and being able to be watchful and focused. And so it is, like you said, it is opening up to the truth of that rather than settling for the illusion that somehow it's defective or you're not as valuable. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm starting at some of the deepest context here, because we can talk about strategies of like, okay, well, when you're on a date, make sure you do this and that. But all of that crap doesn't matter if the belief system is faulty, right? Because you say, oh, I'm doing all this stuff, but I'm just spinning my tires and nothing's working. Well, it's probably because the way that you're approaching the situation is not from a place of power, but rather from a place of trying to compensate.
Right. Yeah, that's worth saying again. So the reason why we're not giving you like a bunch of do this, don't do that strategies in this talk or in this event is because without changing your belief system and the way that you're operating in the world and thinking about the world and thinking about yourself and your children and your situation, none of these strategies are going to work for you. And we're here to really help you make a big change in your life this year. Yes. And we're help you thrive in the world and have fun while you do it.
Yeah.
And sex.
Absolutely. And yes, lots of sex. Yeah.
All right. We're getting close to time, but did you want to share something else?
I wanted to share one more thing with single parents. Okay. And so this is just something that I want to throw out there. You know, I was actually having a discussion with my mom about this because in preparation of this interview, we were just having a conversation. I got a pretty good relationship with her. She's really intelligent. And one of the things that she brought to my attention, and I coach many people around this after breakups, is if you are a single parent and you are still feeling like you're not over your ex, or you are still licking your wounds from the breakup in some way, don't let people or society pressure you into thinking that you need to be in a relationship right now, or that you need to be dating right now, or that you need to go out there when you're not ready yet. Because again, if you are entering dating for a reason that is other than one of curiosity and wanting to build something and feeling like you've got a strong foundation, the reason will determine the results that you're getting. And it might feel not fun. It might feel like, oh God, I got to find somebody, or I've got to, I got to make sure that I can feel included with my friends. So what that means is take some downtime. If you're just getting out of a relationship, take some downtime to settle and build your foundation of getting yourself back after the relationship, and being able to identify yourself as an individual and know that you can make it on your own, right? To figure out that, yeah, you know what, I'm going to be okay. Because that, again, takes away the desperation. It takes away this like momentum of trying to get into a relationship, with both men and women can smell when somebody's really trying to grasp to get into a relationship. And it gives you a centeredness. This might also mean that if you've got a terrible relationship with your ex, it might mean getting some counseling to help create an environment where peaceful co-parenting can exist, where you don't have a horrible relationship that is just behind you and you're trying to avoid it and it makes it really difficult, but rather you've got this ecosystem that has been dissolved from a place of respect. The relationship was dissolved from a place of respect, rather than one where it's just, there's all this tension between the two of you, because then you're bringing in a partner into something where there's a little bit more complication. So what I would encourage you to look for ways to make amends with your ex, because if you have children with them, they will most likely be in your life for the next 18 years minimum, right? And to have that relationship working and functional just also adds to your value out in the dating pool as well.
Thank you, Clayton.
Yeah.
Oh, lots of good stuff. Lots of really good stuff. And one more piece of really good stuff from you, Clayton. What free gift are you going to deliver to the participants, the parents, today?
Yeah. So I've got a document, a PDF, an ebook that I created called The 8 Secrets to Create a Rock Solid Relationship. And after working with close to 1,000 people individually on one-on-one coaching sessions, going through breakups and looking at the patterns of what makes relationship works and what makes relationships fail miserably, I created and distilled 8 secrets that will bring people closer together and really build a foundation for long-lasting love. You can get that on my website. It's www.claytonolsoncoaching.com. I'm sure, Christina, you're putting the link somewhere in this video right below as well. And once you land on the page, just put your name and email in, and I'll get that right over to your inbox.
That's awesome. So to take advantage of Clayton's 8 secrets to building a rock solid relationship, all you have to do is click the link below this video and enter your name and email address. Clayton, I love talking with you. I could keep going.
Yeah, same here. Same here. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for just encapsulating and summarizing what I've been saying in such an eloquent way. It was really awesome riffing with you.
Thank you. Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to say to these parents before we go?
You know, I don't. I'm excited for you. I think just the fact that you are on this interview or this call with us, and that you're open to learning this stuff, and that you're following Christina, that already says so much about you, because it communicates that you already believe that change is possible. Because the people that don't believe change is possible are the ones that are not on this call right now. So if you are listening to this, I have total faith in you that you can begin to have the dating life you want, to have the type of relationship that you want, because you're opening yourself up to that possibility.
So true. I will second that. And Thank you all so much for tuning in with us, sharing your time with us, and taking advantage of this opportunity to grow yourself, grow your relationship, grow your family, and to feel we want you to feel good, because we've got to live with you.
Yeah.
Right? So we really, really want you to be happy. So we're so glad that you're here, and we hope that you were blessed by this information, and we'll see you tomorrow with another interview. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.